So I'm here with Dan Lohrmann today, and we're at FutureCon, and it's March of 2023, right? Time's flying. But you've had a number of great experiences in your history.
Thank you.
And so, you're working with some great companies, and you get called to go to lots of organizations, right?
Sure.
And so what are some of the things, or maybe one or two things, that you would want to share with someone that is a CISO and they're your peer and they're looking to solve, one or two challenges today?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things I'm hearing a lot is the talent challenge is a big one. Keeping good staff, being able to keep them trained, keep them employed, keep them happy. Lots of workforce challenges around that. So I think cybersecurity is all about people, process, and technology, and people's always a big challenge, a big piece of that. So the dilemma around if I hire them and then train them, they're going to leave. But then the other cliche everyone always says is well, am I going to not train them and they stay? So keeping up with the technology, keeping up with the threats that are out there. So training the workforce, keeping employees engaged, and all the things around attracting and retaining cyber talent is certainly a top of the mind item for people.
Yeah. And then, so what are some of the things that you do at Presidio when you're working with customers?
Sure. So basically, I do a lot of blogging, speaking, writing. Like I spoke as a keynote today at lunch. We talked about predictions in the future, what's going on in the industry as a whole. So do quite a bit of that. Also do quite a bit of working with CISOs around the country. I mainly focus on public sector.
Okay.
But maybe 80-20. I do some private sector as well, and really give them an overview of the trends that I'm seeing in the industry, what their colleagues are seeing as far as both threats, solutions that can be provided. People are going through different types of digital transformation, so moving data to the cloud, thinking about identity management, thinking about threats that are facing their enterprises. So really just talking through, and also really honestly doing a lot of listening.
Yeah.
So what are they seeing, just like you're asking me right now, what are they seeing as their different challenges? And quite frankly, I have to say one other thing on that is that it's different for different people. I think some organizations are doing quite well, and others are really, really struggling. And I think it really does vary out there, and I always say there's leaders, followers, and laggards.
Yeah.
And so you have some people out there that it's amazing. Some of the inspiration, some of the people we're seeing here at the conference today, some of the solutions that are available that are doing really well.
For people that weren't able to see your keynote today, could you give them sort of a brief synopsis of a couple of key takeaways that you gave on the stage today?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I write a blog for Government Technology Magazine. You can literally just Google security predictions, and this report will pop up at the top of the list on Lohrmann on Cybersecurity is the name of my blog. And it's not my predictions, these are predictions from the industry.
Yeah.
So what are the top, every year I do is the top 23 predictions for 2023. So we can talk through what those are and industry trends, and their reports. And so one of the things I mentioned is that these reports are reports that many times you would pay a lot of money from the Gartners or the Forresters, which I think are great reports, but they're expensive.
Yep.
And a lot of the industry leaders will actually provide at the end of every year free, so you can't beat the price.
Right.
But what are the top trends across the likes of Trend Micro and Mandiant, and which is now part of Google, and WatchGuard and other people. So what are they seeing? I think one of the things I pointed out with in the beginning is how does this benefit you, both as an individual and your career, but also as a company, and really think about, we have predictions in every area of life. And some people say, they don't change much, it's the same, it's like predicting the weather. But the reality is that there are really meaningful trends, whether you use the word predictions or trends or forecasts, and that these things can really help you if you can connect the dots, and really help you build a plan, see where your strengths and weaknesses are, seeing what areas you need to improve in different sectors, different industries, whether you be banking, whether it be government, whether it be financial sector, energy, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Look at those trends, look at what's going on, and look at some practical steps you can take that help you. And I gave some stories and some examples of, where it really can shape, what solutions you're going to be using and how you even think about the future. I really do believe that security predictions are really, really helpful. I learn a lot every year. I go through this every December, this exercise. It's a big exercise because there's literally hundreds of reports out there.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of really great, just like we're connecting the dots. We're talking about connecting the dots at 9/11, and we wish we would have known that, these pilots didn't want to take off and land. They just wanted to fly the plane. I mean, we can connect the dots around so many trends in cybersecurity, and I think the report will help you do that and benefit with your own career.
Right.
You can learn and benefit with your company.
Yeah. And you're touching on something that I think is almost every CISO and CIO, and even if a CIO or a CISO isn't present at that organization, maybe even an IT director, IT manager, is thinking about, like, I've only got so much budget.
Sure.
And I maybe go and read your 2023 predictions.
Yeah.
Is there a couple of things that you would say to that person or that team that says, you should absolutely maybe do these things with those budget dollars?
Sure.
Especially as you look at right now, we're sort of in this kind of, everybody's being careful with their budget dollars.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, how would you sort of suggest or recommend to them, be careful but go into these kind of areas?
I really think it depends on, first of all, so start with like a risk assessment, and there's a lot of local governments that are getting federal grants now, and, knowing what you have, doing a good understanding of your environment, the assets, the data, what are the crown jewels, and we're talking about risk management, so really understanding what are your risks, what data do you have?
What are you trying to secure?
Absolutely.
Right?
And so, again, different people are in different places in that journey, so understanding your environment is paramount, so up front. Secondly, I would say, clearly, depending where you're at with identity management or the whole topic of privileged access management, knowing, who has access. A lot of the ransomware attacks, literally, people are logging in the systems because they're getting the credentials off the dark web, and they're logging in as employees and sometimes even as super users or as admins. And doing their nefarious things.
Right.
And so the reality is, I think that's a huge area that we need to think about. You need to think about ransomware. You need to think about attacks. Do you have an incident response plan? How would you respond in the event of an attack? Who's involved in that? It's not just your technical people, your business area. Do a tabletop exercise. So think about, are the executives involved? Do you have the CFO, the CEO, or the government leader, or the organization you're in? Are they involved? And how do you coordinate with legal? How do you coordinate with the budget? Who goes where, when that happens? So those are a few things I would think about.
Yeah, and that's good. And so you actually touched on something that's sort of near and dear to my heart,
Sure.
right? Is that, a lot of times before ransomware and a malware installation,
Sure.
you have account compromise that takes place, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you need to know and understand, hey, I need visibility.
Absolutely.
Visibility
in your enterprise, yep.
Visibility in the enterprise is key, right?
Yep.
And I think it goes back to, you said, hey, you need a risk assessment. You need to know what you're trying to secure, how you're trying to secure it, where are your biggest vulnerabilities,
Correct.
Where your assets are. And you said you spend about 80% of your time, thereabouts, in government sector, right?
Yep.
And getting the grants. Just last year, federal grant money was made available,
Sure.
right? So is there anything, as you're seeing out, sharing with these organizations, like they should know, like, hey, this federal grant money is available. Don't wait.
Yeah. You should be working with, if you're a government, you need to be working with your state CISO,
Okay.
state Chief Information Security Officer, Most states are coordinating that at a central level. Some states are doing it in such a way that they're doing a major procurement, and then they're just literally deploying the products. Others are divvying out money. There's different ways. Others are just doing risk assessments to kind of get their arms around the totality of the problem.
Sure.
So, but I'd say start off with making sure you have a good relationship with the state CISO, the state. In different states, it's different places. Whether that money is flowing out of the emergency management organization, whether that's flowing out of state police, whether that's flowing out of a homeland security organization like in Arizona. So there's different agencies are called different things in different states, but making sure you have good relationships and knowing what that process is will be a huge benefit. The other thing I'd mention real quickly, Jason, is that really need to be thinking about what is your backup strategy. You know, are your critical systems backed up?
Yeah.
And are they backed up in such a way that you could restore in a timely manner?
Yeah.
I know organizations were hit with ransomware, and you know, they were, you know, maybe they had backups, but they realized it was going to take hours. They thought it was going to take hours.
Yeah.
And it was going to take weeks or months.
Yeah.
And so they end up having to pay the ransom. They couldn't be down for 6 weeks. They couldn't be down for, you know, and so those kinds of situations, really understanding what does that really look like?
Yeah.
And if you're talking about your home PCs, your home laptops, back them up. You know,
Right.
you know, very inexpensively, get a
Simple.
USB drive, back up that data every month at least, if not, you know, hopefully more often. But I
Right.
mean, so many people say, "Oh, I did that, you know, 5 years ago," but they haven't done a recent backup.
Yeah.
So.
And that even goes back to like tabletop exercises.
Absolutely.
Right? You need to exercise your backup and DR strategy.
Sure.
And make sure that you can actually roll back from that backup.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, and that you actually could recover.
Absolutely.
You know, so many people, I think, rely on the green check mark. And yes, we got a backup. But have they tested it, right?
Yeah.
So,
Jason, this has been really, really great. I really
would agree.
appreciate it.